We're going to call the meeting to order. We're going to start with the Pledge of Allegiance, please.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good evening. This is a special meeting for the Budget Steering Committee, which is a committee as a whole, to talk about the 2013-2014 budget. And we're going to start off this evening with community forum. Is there anybody who wishes to speak to the board this evening? Please come forward, have a seat up in the front. State your name and address for the record, if you could.
Lori York, 16 Patricia Drive. For the last 3 months, like many of you, I have been living, eating, and breathing education. I've been to your budget meetings and the town council budget meetings. I've talked to friends, neighbors, parents, teachers, some of you, and some town council members. I pay attention to what is going on in education at the state and national levels. It's taken me all day to try to reconcile everything going on in my head and speak to you tonight. And I apologize if it may have been more appropriate Monday night, but I hope you'll keep it in mind with your budget deliberations. I've made some assumptions during this budget process. I've assumed this Board of Ed knows how to educate my children. I've assumed that your budget is fiscally responsible, especially as I know the mayor previously occupied one of your seats and picked it apart as a member of the Finance Committee not so long ago. Contractual obligations have increased significantly since. I've assumed the town council is operating in the best interest of not just our children, but every citizen of this community. You all know that I, along with many other members of the Center Road PTO, fought for your budget right along with you, and we're still fighting with you. But I'm not assuming anything anymore. The state calls us an alliance district. The town council questions how you are spending your budget. No one has a clear vision or plan of where our schools are going. Teachers have had it, and parents are running for the magnet schools. I have a friend who works in the Bridgeport school system for 15 years before she moved to a school in Shelton this year. We talk about our schools. I've complained about the cutting back of paraprofessionals, and my friend told me, as Dr. Conway said last year, they are a luxury. I've talked about teacher coaches, and she tells me they've been around for years. I've mentioned the implementation of Common Core, and she says it's about time. I've complained about the removal of levels at the middle and high schools, and she tells me we're one of the last districts in the state to do so. Though I think I heard recently that Newington is thinking about bringing this back, but I can't confirm that. She tells me we're 10 to 15 years behind the rest of the state in many initiatives. With that information, Dr. Conway gets a vote of confidence from me. However, I was educated at a time where free thinking, common sense, and logic were still part of the curriculum. I do believe Dr. Conway has the best intentions for our students and truly wants to upgrade us to 21st century learning. My problem is that money-making corporations and politicians are defining 21st century learning. I appreciate the intent behind No Child Left Behind. Every child in this country deserves quality education. But rather than addressing the socioeconomic factors that prevent all children from receiving that quality education, the government points their fingers at schools. First and foremost, children must have their basic needs met. Food, medical care, clothing, and adults who care. Then they are ready to learn. But let's skip all that and go straight to the classroom. Our schools now teach to the middle achiever, the average on-grade level student. We can hope that teachers are differentiating by giving more support to the struggling students and enrichment to the more advanced, but with larger class sizes, more behavior issues, less support from interventionists and paraprofessionals, and a policy within our administration that no child be retained in an elementary grade. And I'm curious if this is an actual Board of Ed policy. I don't know how they can be expected to do that. I do understand that new teachers are being better trained for this environment, and I understand this is why Dr. Conway wants teacher coaches. But so many initiatives and measures in place today are destined for failure. No one is taking into account natural abilities, differences in learning style, individual talents of our students. No one is talking to our teachers. That is the most appalling fact about education today. The majority of the people making the rules about education have never set foot in a classroom in a professional capacity. You, our Board of Education, determine more than any politician or corporation what my children will learn in the next 9 years. There are mandates and laws that must be followed, but I have a few requests. Use your common sense. What do our children really need to learn? How do they need to be taught in the 21st century classroom? Which initiatives have proven results and are truly worth funding? You are not in business to produce robots off an assembly line. You are a social service agency working with living, breathing, feeling human beings who should be graduated into the world as capable, innovative, free-thinking, productive individuals. Give our students the tools and support they need to succeed for the rest of their lives, not to pass an arbitrary test. Stop blaming our teachers for where we're at. We had 4 years of an interim superintendent, no common curriculum or funding among elementary schools until recently, and funds have been diverted from our students to meet contractual obligations when the town has failed to fund them for many years now. Instead of dictating to our teachers and making them fearful for their jobs, recognize them as the stakeholders they are in our schools. Technology, expectations, and measures have changed since many of our teachers became teachers, but that doesn't mean they're inherently bad at educating our children. Some are, and they need to go, but many of our teachers were the ones in place when we had award-winning schools. Talk with them rather than at them. Step into a classroom and see what their day actually looks like. Recognize the time, effort, and care they put in. Ask them what they need to reach every child in their classroom, what works and doesn't work, and how they think we best achieve our goals. You might be surprised how little their ideas might actually cost. Bring back leveling and properly deal with behavior issues in our schools. Honestly, aside from the amazing marketing campaign of the magnet schools, this is why you're losing so many families to them. Whether true or not, parents see magnet schools as modern facilities more capable of addressing their children's individual strengths and weaknesses, where behavior is better controlled. And speaking of magnet schools, acceptance letters have been arriving this week, and they're currently recruiting late applications. That budget line item in the budget you're working on tonight needs to go way up. I thank you for all of your time and effort during this process. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. Is there anybody else who wishes to speak this evening? Seeing none, we'll move on. I'm going to go right to Dr. Conway. Dr. Conway did present some options earlier today, so that you had some an advanced chance to look at them. We'll give this meeting over to her to explain this.
Thank you very much, Mr. Hall. You have a list in front of you of potential cuts. This was a draft list generated immediately after the mayor's cut. So a couple of months ago, we revisited this list this afternoon, the administrators, and tried, because we had not reached the amount of 1.5. This is just suggestions for the board. You can see that the entire amount at the top that comes to $475,000 is the all-day kindergarten initiative right there. So it's 7 teachers or 7.0 FTE, all the supplies and furniture for the classrooms. The .2 art teacher, which was specifically, there were 2 of those in the budget. One was for the high school, but one was for kindergarten and in payroll tax, obviously. The thing that is not taken out there, that is not in this list, is the health and prescription insurance. That was in the original list. You know that that's a line item in our proposed budget that is very, very thin. And so we did not propose taking that particular amount out. That's about $112,000, I think. So that's why it doesn't equal the number we've been talking about for quite a while of about a little over $500,000. So that is that's 475, 458, and then there is a list that is still about $160,000 short. Looking at Center Road School right now, we have 5 third grades. We would move to 4 fourth grades. At Northeast, exactly the same idea, cutting 1 third grade to 4th grade, although we don't have that many. We have 3 third grades. We would go to 2 4th grades. So that would be 2 positions. $69,000 is what we use. That would be a Master's 3 teacher, and it would be benefits. So we add that together as one. Security guard at the high school, that would be that entire position. Social studies right now at the high school does have the lowest class sizes overall, so this would it would increase class sizes and possibly reduce the number of electives, but that's one teacher there. Special education at Skinner Road School, that is, our numbers are way down in terms of our students who are at Skinner Road School, and so that would be a full reduction there. The tuition non-public, these are specific to students that Mrs. Buell knows or found out at the end of February who would be coming back to district, so she's looking to reduce that number. Tutors, I've forgotten why that's there, but the tutoring line item. Textbook adoptions, this would be new adoptions next year. It would be the 7th and 8th grade mathematics texts. Right now we have the 6th grade in the current budget that's already been encumbered. That will be purchased this year, but 7th and 8th would wait for another year. Science kit upgrades, there would be none of that. Math and science instructional supplies, Mr. Osmond has gone through and reduced those supplies across the board. Extended day transportation, that was additional transportation that was put in the budget in case the board extended the day or allowed for a bus for after-school activities as well. Second grade, unfortunately, at Maple Street will need another teacher, and so right now we have enough for 3 full kindergartens. We actually have 4 very small ones. So those students in the 4 kindergartens will move to 3 first grades, and our current 3 first grades will move to 3 second grades. And so that is an addition back in of $69,000 for a grade 2 teacher at Maple Street. The assistant track coach position, dance coach, assistant cheerleading coach, all from the high school. 10 of the 16 smart boards, 35, although I think they're down at the bottom too. All 70 of the e-readers, they're there and they're also near the bottom. All of the LCD projectors, laptop cart for Vernon Center Middle School, and the art department pottery wheel and tablets, central supply of $20,000. The administration reorg that the board passed was a savings of approximately $27,000. Alternative learning teacher at the high school, that would have been a new position, that's $69,000. NovaNet Online was reduced by $10,000. We can still keep that license, however, so $10,000. And then the student management system for $75,000. So that brought it down to $160,491. If you know that the place we get the biggest amount of savings is unfortunately in teachers. That's about 2 1/3 teachers, 2.3 teachers, if we were to go that way. Additionally, we certainly, we could cut 1 teacher coach from that area. That's just where we stopped, and the room was being used upstairs, and we ended. But those were our discussions at that point: is where do you go? And it's robbing from one area to pay for another area in terms of all of these areas. So I would offer you these to begin with. We've looked high and low. I'm hoping you all have some great ideas as well.